So, welcome to World Music 201. Um, Today I'll be talking about Russia and the question, what is Russian music? So, to better understand this question, we will have to look back at Russian history and as well as looking at some of the famous composers of Russia and their influences. There's been a debate among Russian composers as to what is Russian music and what that truly means. And if we look back, this all started back with the European influence, and that happened back with Peter the Great. Peter the Great was Tsar of Russia. He was Tsar of Russia from May 7th, 1682 to February 8th, 1725. He's accredited with modernizing Russia and really bringing them out of the Dark Ages and bringing them out of the age of superstition into an age of rationalization. He had many advisors that were from Western Europe, and they would advise him to be more like those countries. And he had spent time there. He actually learned to build ships in Denmark, and he really fell in love with European culture, and he felt that they were far more advanced than what Russia was at the time. And the time that Peter the First became Peter the First or Peter the Great became Tsar, the Mongol Empire had fallen, and it was a time of expansion and growth, and he really pressed for reforming things. A lot of the noblemen didn't like that, but he reformed the religion, the Russian Orthodox Church. Um, he reformed the armies. He wanted a maritime, world power. He really pushed for all these different things, and he pushed for kind of this Western art, this Western style of life. Um, so, um, he having started that continued on for years and years and years. If you think about Russian music, it has many orchestras and symphonies and plays, and they use very similar instruments to what we use in our day today. Um, because as Russia was influenced in Western Europe as well as the United States. Now, there's some Russian composers that we'll be talking about are Tchaikovsky, a group called The Five, and Sergei. And you'll recognize some of these composers and what they had done. But really, we're going to focus on the relationship between Russian music and what these composers contributed to it and how they viewed each other. So we'll start off with Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky was born in 1840, May 7th. He passed away November 6, 1893. He was not actually learning to be a musician. He was learning to be a civil servant, since Russian music education did not exist at that time. So he got an education at a conservatory, just focusing on music when he was older, and really just went with it and became really well known and famous. You probably recognize some of his music as we look at some of his. He's known for Swan Lake and for the Nutcracker play. So we'll just take a look at a small piece called March of the Toy Soldiers. Alright, We'll see if this plays right now or if it'll kick me off. Okay, so PowerPoint wasn't quite working, so we're going to view it here on YouTube. Okay, so due to the time constraint, I'm just going to show a small clip of that. I wish I could show more, but um, the video has a problem loading when it's longer than 15 minutes. So that as a sample, I'm sure you've all recognized that as the Nutcracker. Hear it every holiday season. So he is very westernized, very influenced. We hear very similar sounds and tunes from that. And now we go on to the group called the Five. Now, I'm not Russian, so I wouldn't butcher their names. I wish I could pronounce them right. I think it's an awesome language. But the leader of the Five, or the Mighty Five, or the Mighty Handful, as they were called, was Palakirev. And also in the group there was Cesar Kuit, and there was Martis Ugorsky, there was Rimsky-Korsakov, and Alexander Borodin. Now these men, they felt that Russian music was something that should not be influenced by Westerners, that they were losing their identity because of that influence. So as Peter the Great was the one who influenced the Reformations and all things, they looked back to the time before him. They looked at folk music, they looked at the Caucasian dances, church chants, and church bells. Mussorgsky actually did a arrangement of a song called Night on Bald Mountain. You might recognize that from Fantasia. And in that song, they have the church bells at the end, and that's kind of a signature of kind of the Five or Russian music. They also would have long, drawn out songs, be very lyrical. They would be melosomatic. The idea they had many notes for one syllable. Example is Angels We Have Heard on High, with the Gloria, just that O going off. They had, they believe it should be heterophony, and that it should be tonal, this should have tonal mutability, having two different, kind of different people singing different tones and coming together at the end to form one tonal central. They use the whole tone scale, as well as diminished or octonic scales and pentatonic scales. These men also did a lot of famous things. You might recognize, like I said, Night on Bald Mountain, as well as Rimsky-Korsakov, his song, Flight of the Bumblebee. Okay. Due to time restraint as well, didn't play the full clip, but just a small sample of it. I really encourage you to look that up and learn more about them. Um, the five, as well as Tchaikovsky, did not really get along with each other. They criticized each other quite a bit, and that they fought over what music was. They didn't believe in that Tchaikovsky should have such westernized music, being a Russian, and he criticized them for either not being good musicians or wasting their talent by not having that formal education and by not putting their time into more productive things. It's a very interesting read if you have the time to look that up. Now, finally, talk a little bit about Sergei before we go. Just fast forward to the future, during the Soviet era, he was actually in Russia at that time, and he was restricted and limited to not play music with outside influence. They were actually all musicians and artists were put under watch to make sure that they didn't have those outside influences. You might know his music from Peter and the Wolf. Very talented, very good composer. And so even throughout the Soviet era, they had this idea of what is Russian music. Really trying to go back to these ideas that they had of more of the folk music combined with the classical Russian. Um, I thought this was very interesting, and I hope you go on to learn about this and look more into it. And I'd like to say goodbye and have a good day. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.